Hey there, it's JohnBerry555, and I just finished watching the 2-episode premiere for Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2, the episodes being Spoils of War and Ruins of War. This episode review will be divided into 2 parts, one for each episode. Timestamps will be down below so you can skip to the episode that you are interested in. Also, if you would like to see my spoiler-free thoughts, please be sure to check the links down below. Those 2 YouTube shorts. I'll also store them up in the comment section as well. So go check that out if you're so interested. But let's just get right on into my review for Episode 1. Episode 1 of the second season of The Bad Batch is Spoils of War. It opens up with the Bad Batch, though some mission on some kind of tropical planet. So basically this episode opens with the exact same shot that the last trailer, which I did do a reaction, link somewhere on my channel. Anyhow, it opens up exactly the same way, which I saw was a neat creative choice. So yeah, I just thought it was a neat creative choice. That's really all I can say about that. But right off the bat, shows us 2 things going on, especially with Omega. 1, that the Bad Batch is having her study ships, especially Imperial ships. And 2, that she is quite capable, but they are still looking after her, looking out for her. And actually later in the episode, that does create a little bit of conflict, because Omega does overhear it, but we don't know actually that she does overhear it until episode 2. But anyhow, basically, Hunter and Echo are talking, and essentially what Hunter wants to do is get a big skull so that way they can hide away, keep Omega safe and all that. Meanwhile, Echo is like, what we did was right with rescuing Omega, but we have to continue to fight the Empire. This does come back later in episode 2, so we'll talk about that later on. But that's setting up a little bit of a conflict there, but not too much of a conflict. Because the main conflict in this episode is really, of course, with the oncoming threat of the Empire. That's really the main thing. But anyhow, they're going to go to Serena, so that's Count Dooku's homeworld, to steal a part of his war chest, which is huge. We actually get a shot of the Empire taking it away in 3 gigantic cargo ships. In fact, one of them, the Rebels in Star Wars Rebels, stole. Not one of those specific models, but you never know. But anyhow, that same type of ship there. That's also where they meet that one droid whose name I just totally blanked on. But you know what? We're talking about the Bad Batch, not Star Wars Rebels. Which, by the way, check out my reviews of Rebels if you haven't done so already. They're somewhere on my channel. But anyhow, so and the Tiki troopers haven't been shown yet. These are still clone troopers. But you can definitely tell that these clones know what they're doing because they're clones. When they realize something is up, they act on it, and they aren't incompetent. Sure, they may look incompetent, but the Bad Batch are special forces. In real life, I have a feeling you put a U.S. Army unit against a U.S. Army Special Forces unit, like Delta Force or something like that. The regular unit probably doesn't stand that good of a chance, because the Special Forces do subtle tricks and all that in order to accomplish their goals. Just so I address that there. But going back to what's going on in the episode, so Omega, Tech, and Echo get trapped in one of the container ships when it launches, because the clone commander, I forget his name, they said it a couple of times, but he orders the ship to launch immediately because he recognizes what's going on. Someone's trying to steal his war chest. And he also orders the ship to jettison escape pods as well. He does that later because he knows what's going on there, which shows he is intelligent. He's approaching the situation intelligently. In the meantime, Hunter and Echo are trying to escape the clones, and they're doing that by going through Count Dooku's palace, and they end up in Count Dooku's office, I guess, and they use Count Dooku's escape turbolift to escape, which I really like that callback, because I remember seeing that a couple of times in Star Wars: The Clone Wars, so that's a nice little callback there. But they have to escape by going through the ruined city there, and they come away. That's what they do, but they don't do that in this episode. That's next episode. I was getting the episodes mixed up. But this episode does leave on a cliffhanger, because Omega, Hunter, and Omega, Echo, and Tech decide, because of the loss of the escape pods, they're going to go back to the planet in one of the cargo containers, because they have some ascent boosters and all that sci-fi mumbo jumbo. So they do that. So that's the cliffhanger. I hope I got the right cliffhanger. I really should record these two sections in two different orders. Oh well. But anyhow, that's kind of my general thoughts and recap of episode 1. I have more to say about episode 2, so let's just jump right down to episode 2. So episode 2, Ruins of War, is really where the two-part meal comes all together, brings the story elements that are introduced in the first episode together. One is the lesson that Omega learns. Basically, she learns that the Bad Batch, that yes, she's not a burden on them. She was kind of like that because of her, they can't have a normal life. And Echo is the one who addresses this, which is good because we needed more character development for Echo, which we didn't really get in season 1. And basically, he says that if they had to do it all over again, they would rescue her. And said that by doing that, their lives are better because they would be, if not, they would be fighting for the Empire or worse. The worst being implied death. But I think that is actually that's important. And let's be real, no matter what, they were not going to have a normal life. They're clones. And even regular citizens of the galaxy are not having a normal life. They encounter a local resident, Sereno, in this episode, who is, he's normally on their side. There's a little bit of distrust there, which does make sense. They don't know if they can trust each other. And I say normally because I don't know for sure, is he going to be on the side or not? He's definitely not pro-Empire, but is he more like, essentially, as we see with the Rebel Alliance later on, they're all separatists who are rebels, and you have basically pro people who want to restore the Republic who are also rebels. And they get along for fighting the Empire, but they get along for everything else. Now, he does clearly identify that he identifies with Sereno rather than the Separatists, so that is kind of interesting. But that's actually good for Tech, because essentially he had the blind spot that he wasn't aware of. A blind spot because he kind of lumped, probably because of the pro-Republic propaganda, lumped all Separatists together. And he admits that he hadn't considered that people who support the Separatists or were from Separatist plans, that their cultures that existed before the Separatists, before the war, which is something to take note of. But that does kind of show how propaganda can dehumanize people. And while sure, it's not really addressed in that way, but it's like, he hadn't really thought about before the war, which just makes sense for clones because they were all before the war. But everything does work out in the end. They part ways successfully with the local resident, and they escape the Empire. But that's not where the episode ends. No, there's some other stuff is what's going on there. But I want to address how Omega learns the lesson about the treasure's not important, but the Bad Batch are. That's essentially what she actually learns this. But this I think is the most interesting part. So after the Bad Batch escape, the Admiral who was there and gave the order to destroy Camino, he's under the assumption the Bad Batch were killed during that, were eliminated. So, when he was at the clone commander there on Sereno, in his report said that the Bad Batch, he cited a Clone Force 99, he's like, I'm going to go there and say, that must be wrong. I saw that. And then he says this, Governor Tarkin cannot know of my mistake. And he asks the clone to basically falsify records to say the Bad Batch, Clone Force 99, weren't there acting rogue and all that. And the clone's he's like, no, I can't do that. I cannot falsify a official report. And what does the Admiral do? He pulls out his pistol, which is not a clone pistol. It's the same pistol that we saw Imperial officers use in Star Wars Rebels. He points it at the clone and says, no, you won't. I will. And shoots the clone dead. And the clone falls off the balcony and all that. I thought he was going to push, but yeah, using the blaster is more Imperial style. But that's showing the corruption of the Empire in one way. The Republic, even in its final days when it was in the Empire in all but name, was still different from the Empire. The clones, sure, they did even with chips, they executed Jedi and all that. But they weren't going to falsify records. They were just told that Jedi were traitors. And probably if there was a Jedi who turned on the Jedi, they'd be like, okay, he's trustworthy. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case from what we're seeing. If they saw a Jedi attack another Jedi, they will assume that Jedi is on their side, on the side of the Chancellor or the Emperor, or whatever they were calling him at that point. You get different names for him, like with. I mean, we even have one in the Clone Wars. Rex says Sidious under the influence of the chip. Meanwhile, Cody just says "my lord." Like, it just varies. But it does actually probably explain why Anakin survived, because they saw him supporting them, and not the Jedi. So the clones are clearly not going to falsify the records. Like, they're loyal, good soldiers. Like, they're not going to rely on official records. But the humans who are supporting the Empire, where it's about power for them, they don't care. They will falsify records for their own means. And that's what we're seeing. This really shows one of the last differences that remain between the Republic and the Empire besides the name. The clones were not going to falsify records. Sure, they may become a little meaner, push people around a bit more, but they're not going to falsify records just to appease somebody who wants to advance up the power ladder. No, they're not going to do that. That is one of the differences, and probably another reason why Palpatine wanted to get rid of the clones, because they would have been probably too honest. So some food for thought there. So that's where I'm going to end my review for Star Wars The Bad Batch Season 2, Episodes 1 and 2, Spoils the War and Ruins the War, respectively. So I would love to hear from you. Feel free to let me know in the comment section down below, what did you think of these 2 episodes? Let's get the discussion going. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give it a like, upvote, and share. Also, if you enjoyed my video and would like to see more of my content, feel free to subscribe to the channel and follow me on social media. Links will be down below, as well as links for my website and my Patreon page if you would like to consider supporting the channel. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.